This is episode 18 of The Living Reminders with Mary and Blake.
2% doesn't sound like much. But 2% of the entire planet, of every person on it, that's more than the world's 10 largest cities combined. It's 140 million people. And like that, they were gone.
All the way from Providence, Rhode Island, welcome to The Living Reminders. It's a podcast dedicated to the show The Leftovers on HBO. We're still here, and so are you, so let's talk to Tom Perrotta.
Suddenly I'm hit. It's the darkness of the dawn, and your friends are gone, and your friends won't come. So show me where you fit. So show me where you fit.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Larson.
My name is Blake. And you know what I realized?
What?
This is the first official season of season 2 for us.
I know. I'm really excited.
Like, this is the first one we're doing for the entirety of season 2 of The Leftovers.
Bring it on, man. Bring it on.
How amazing is that?
It's really cool. It's really exciting, especially because you're in the same seat as me now, book readers. Welcome to the great unknown, all right? I'm really excited. I'm pumped for this.
It's been a long wait. It's been over a
has.
year for The Leftovers.
It has. And, you know, we've filled our time with great shows and great movies, but we have not found something as thought-provoking, honestly, as The Leftovers.
No.
We have not nearly had the deep conversations on this level about life.
Yeah, you know,
and the unknown.
we watched a lot of great shows. We watched Better Call Saul. We watched Bloodline. We watched
Outlander.
Jeez, I'm watching The Blacklist right now, which is god awful. We've watched so many shows, and they were all great shows into their own right. Like Game of Thrones, an amazing show, but nothing captured our imagination the way that it did with The Leftovers. Mary and I, at the end of the episode, would sit up late at night, 1, 2, 3 in the morning, just talking about this show and what meant and what it could mean, and the listeners were unbelievable. And I gotta tell you, it's exciting to get back to. It's exciting to engage with material, and I'm just dying to watch it.
I agree. Well, and speaking about engagement, guys, we're going to have a really big announcement.
Actually,
at the
a couple
end,
of big announcements.
Ooh, at the end of this episode. So you're going to want to stick around through the episode. But now it's time for us to get into our interview. Joining us now is Tom Perrotta, a screenwriter, Academy Award nominee, and author of novels such as Election and Little Children. The New York Times has dubbed Tom as an American Chekhov, whose characters, even at their most ridiculous, seem blessed and ennobled by a luminous human aura. But we all know him as the author, co-creator, and co-executive producer of our favorite show on HBO, The Leftovers. Thank you so much, Tom, for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Happy to do that. Happy to be back.
Now that season 1 has come and gone, you've had a chance to reflect on it creatively. Can you look back and tell us your favorite moments?
There were so many moments that I loved, and but I'll give you 3 that have really stuck with me. And it's funny, after this much time, I can remember. If I watch episodes again, I feel like some of it I remember really well, and some of it feels new. That's why it feels good to watch the second time. But there's 3 that have really stuck with me, almost like memories from dreams. For me, the first happens in the pilot when Liv Tyler comes to the Guilty Remnant house. When Meg shows up in the taxi and joins Patti and Gladys and Lori and goes inside. There's something so kind of ominous about that moment, and she looks so vulnerable, and you feel the power of this group, that it could take someone like her and get her to give up the life that she had and start over. So that one stuck with me. The second one I've spoken about numerous times, and that's the hug between Nora and Holy Wayne in episode 6, which I think is just one of the most emotional things I've ever seen on a screen. And then finally, I think there's a moment in the finale when Kevin and Matt Jameson are burying Patti Levin, and Kevin reads from the Book of Job, and I thought it was just a really beautiful moment.
Actually, as a follow-up to this question, clearly in your novel, Nora and Holy Wayne never met up, and Kevin never reads that passage in the book. So what was that? I mean, I know you said that stands out to you, but what was it like to see those characters perform those acts, something that was just for the show wholly? Was that really just something that really blew your doors off?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Those are the ones. I mean, there were definitely moments that came right out of the book. There's that moment when Jill gives Lori the lighter, for example, that was straight from the book. And in the pilot, when Guilty Remnant holds up their sign saying, "Stop wasting your breath." There are some moments that are, very memorable and iconic that came straight out of the book. But in a funny way, I guess, for me, maybe those other moments feel fresher and less familiar. And that's maybe why they stuck with me.
So given that the source material of your novel that we've already talked about was exhausted pretty much completely in season 1, when did you and showrunner Damon Lindelof start to map out the story for season 2, and what was that process like?
It was interesting. We started way back in November of 2014.
Wow.
And there was a few, so I live in Boston and Damon lives in LA. And we have a new executive producer, Tom Speziali, who came on this year. And we had a handful of email exchanges, and then we just started to meet with the other writers, and that's become our, we have a writer's room, and I don't think there was a lot figured out before we started meeting in the writer's room. I think we had decided that our characters would be moving to Miracle, which was a town we had talked about last year but had not gotten into the show. We knew that much, but we didn't know how they got there or why or what would happen. So it really was a group effort that happened in the writer's room in November, and then went all the way to September. So that's a long time for a group to be together for 10 episodes, I think.
What was it like for you to get into this world that you obviously created, and now you're expanding on it? Was that something that was really exciting for you?
Yeah, it was exciting. It's a little bit disorienting. I think this was the year where I really psychologically had to fully accept that I didn't own the story anymore. I think last year I got some way toward making that realization, but this year it was just very clear that, it was a collaboration between me and Damon and the other writers on the show, and that everybody had an ownership stake in the story.
So, getting back to that first season again, the last year the show was shot in New York. So what does moving the show to Texas and Miracle allow both you and Damon to do practically and also creatively? Well,
there are a number of things going on there. One is, I think, just purely cinematically, there's something very interesting about moving from a kind of East Coast suburban landscape that feels somewhat generic to a wide open, I think more distinctive Southwestern landscape. It feels a little bit iconic. So there's a kind of cinematic, transformation of the show. But also then I think, because Miracle is an exceptional place, so exceptional that it's been turned into a national park to keep out the hordes of people who want to go there and partake of what they feel to be the special status or even magical qualities of this town that was not affected by the sudden departure. It allows us to talk about a very different phenomenon in the sudden departure, and that's what happens when there's a place that's set apart and a group of people who are beginning to think of themselves as perhaps chosen. So it's obviously another set of religious concepts come into play when we're talking about this town of Miracle. And the other thing is it very much kind of unsettled our main characters. They had lives in Mapleton. Kevin was the chief of police, and Nora had a job with the Department of the Sudden Departure, and Jill had a group of friends that she relied on. And now they're going to a new place and starting really with nothing. Kevin doesn't have a job. Nora doesn't have a job. Jill doesn't have her friends. They only have each other, and they quickly get enmeshed with the family living next door. So it just changed everything, cinematically, conceptually, and then, for our characters.
Mimi Leder is directing the first 2 episodes from the new season, so can you talk about her talent and the great choice that it was made halfway through season 1 to bring her on as an executive producer of the show?
Oh, yeah. Mimi, I can't say enough about what she's done for the show. We were lucky to have Pete Byrne direct the first 2 episodes of season 1, and Pete brought his sort of trademark handheld hyper-real aesthetic to the show, and that was great. And I think Mimi found a way to retain that, but then bring in a whole different sort of cinematic aesthetic. So I think the show has just become more beautiful since Mimi has taken it on. I'm constantly impressed by, the complexity of some of the shots and just the beauty of them. And it hasn't really changed the character of the show, but at the same time, it's added a huge amount to it. It lets us do more and to kind of have just a larger set of tools at our disposal. And I think Mimi has been great at doing big set pieces. She did the finale last year when there was the destruction of the Guilty Remnant cul-de-sac. I can't say enough how amazingly that was filmed. She can do the big set pieces, and I think she can really do the emotional scenes as well. So, that's been one of the nice things about doing a show and having it go on. The actors start to feel very, invested in the show, and they go deep into their characters. And, a director like Mimi comes on and becomes a crucial creative partner in making the show. It really does build on, there's a kind of a trust and a commitment that gets built over time on the show.
You talked about a couple of things that struck with me so far. You talked about how the show was moved to Texas, so it provides a unique setting. And then you also talked about Mimi Leder and how she shot the show, and it just made it a beautiful television program. And I can't agree with you enough, because what I found so far is that the setting for the show is just as important, and the direction is just as important as the story or as the characters. You found that in shows like Bloodline or The Wire or Breaking Bad. Those are all really unique places that people just couldn't get enough of. Do you think that's what Miracle's going to be for you guys?
Well, I guess I have to leave that to you guys and the other people who watch the show and care about it. I think we found it very fruitful ground, and I think people who watch the premiere on Sunday will be introduced to a landscape that they haven't seen on TV before.
So in Miracle, we have the Murphys. Can you talk about this family, the Murphys, and what makes them such compelling characters? And are they people that we as viewers can trust?
Well, so the Murphys are not only the Garveys' next door neighbors in Miracle, they are, it turns out, very important people within the town. Erica Murphy, who is played by Regina King, who, by the way, I think is just an amazing actor, is a doctor at the urgent care in town. So she is somebody who obviously everybody knows and who, is a respected voice in town. And her husband, John, is a very complicated and somewhat thorny character. John is a volunteer fireman, but he's also sort of entrusted with enforcing the town's sort of unwritten laws. So the town is a place that was blessed because nobody departed. But a lot of religious charlatans have tried to come there and claim that miracles have happened as a result. And John actually has taken on this mission of exiling and sometimes, committing violence against these people who make false claims about the town. So he seems like a nice guy, but you realize very quickly that he has a dark, violent streak, and he's in everybody's business. So he is the guy who makes this otherwise special, happy place a little bit scary for newcomers. And I think John is when you say, is this a person we can trust? I think John lives by a code, but it's a violent code, and I think he's not someone that you want to cross. And for various reasons, some of our characters may cross into the course of the season.
So
they have two children, by the way. Evie, played by Jasmine Savoy Brown, and Michael, played by Jovan Erdepo. And Michael is a religious Christian, and Evie is a sort of a sassy teenager who we'll hear a lot about in the course of the season. But so they seem like a really great family when we first see them, but this is the leftovers. So their family is put under enormous pressure very quickly.
In the trailer, we see that Jordan, or Miracle, is possibly not all it's cracked up to be. So without spoiling anything, can you set up Miracle for our listeners?
Yeah, so Miracle was originally called Jordan, Texas. And Jordan, Texas happens to be the one town of a sort of substantial population in the United States where no one disappeared. Once this got out, it became a magnet for people who were feeling frightened or were simply religious pilgrims, people who wanted to just come there and partake of the safety of the place or the magic of the place or the blessedness of the place, however they conceptualized it. That led to a certain kind of chaos, and the federal government came in and created what is called Miracle National Park. And the park rangers, control access into the town. Only so many people can visit it. They can visit it just for a day, or possibly, get an extended residential pass. They have to wear wristbands to prove that they have a right to be there. So it becomes a place, a citadel of sorts, and a kind of a tourist attraction. It's just a very weird place for the Garveys to move, but they're all jittery and tired of Mapleton and ready for a fresh start. And Matt Jameson has gone there ahead of them, first to visit a friend of his, but then because he thinks it might help his wife Mary with her who's in a persistent vegetative state. So Matt goes there first. Kevin, Nora, and Jill follow him, and so that's where they are. It's a very peculiar place. And when you say it's not all it's cracked up to be, I think any place that says that it's somehow immune from misfortune is setting itself up for a fall.
Now, someone that we haven't seen in the trailers is Lori. And I want to know, is she done with the Guilty Remnant because she's reunited with Tom? And can you talk about their special mother and son relationship?
Lori is out of the Guilty Remnant, but she is not done with them. She's, in fact, obsessed with them. And I won't say much more about that, except that episode 3 goes deeply into what Lori has been doing since the fire at the Guilty Remnant cul-de-sac, since the finale of season 1. And I think it's a remarkable episode. And Amy Brenneman's performance is really powerful. And I will say I'm sure that Amy was happy to be talking again. And yes, she is living, at least at the beginning of the season, with her son Tom, who she reunited with in the finale. And they are the two spiritual seekers in the family, and they're the two most damaged by the departure. But like Kevin and Nora and Jill, they're making some kind of stab at living together and reviving their family relationship. But they are two people who are under enormous psychological pressure and not always dealing with it well.
So after such a significant role they played in season 1, it's been said that the Guilty Remnant won't be as prevalent in season 2. Like, I know you just said that Lori will be obsessed with the Guilty Remnant, and I am dying to see what that looks like, but they may not be as prevalent in season 2. So is that because of their mission was completed in the Memorial Day finale, or is it something else?
Well, it's something else. I mean, they completed a mission with the Memorial Day fiasco, as you say, but they also destroyed themselves in Mapleton. But they definitely exist in the world. I think the reason why they're not around is that the Guilty Remnant is a response to the departure and the pain that it caused. And we're spending most of the time this season in Miracle, and that's a place where there just wasn't the level of pain that existed. And the Guilty Remnant have not come there. They have no foothold there. And so Kevin and Nora and Jill have just moved to a place where the Guilty Remnant doesn't exist. So that's it doesn't mean they don't exist out in the wider world. It just means that they don't exist within Miracle.
So you said, I just want to make it sure it's clear that they do exist outside of Miracle. Think they're still around, they're still going on. But
yes, and in fact, their real presence, at least for in at the beginning of our season, is just that Patti is around in a kind of in a ghostly or hallucinatory way, and so she's kind of Kevin's reminder of the Guilty Remnant. But yes, they exist. Meg's still alive. It's just that our characters have moved to a place where the Guilty Remnant don't have a foothold.
We actually had the pleasure of speaking with Ann Dowd over the break, and she had mentioned to us this relationship between Kevin and Patti, and I just wanted you to comment on that real quick. She said it was almost like a love relationship, like it was something very, very special beyond love or friendship, but just really, really special, for the lack of a better word. Could you comment on their connection?
Yeah. Well, all I will say is that she is deep in his head, and that, whether she's a ghost or a figment of Kevin's guilty conscience, I'm not even sure I know at this point. But the way that Kevin experiences her, she is a person from whom he has no secrets. And poor Nora, in a way, and I think Anne is correct on this level, Kevin has a huge secret from Nora, which is that he's spending a lot of time with Patti. And so Patti is, in a way, the companion who is closest to Kevin. And, of course, it puts a huge amount of stress on their relationship.
Can you talk about the shift? There's a really big shift where season 1 was full of despair, and now in season 2, it's going to be more about hope and renewal.
Well, I think the Garveys hope that it's going to be about hope and renewal. I think, again, because it's the leftovers, things aren't as simple as that. And they take, one step forward, sometimes and 2 steps back and another step forward. But yes, they are, they made a very positive embrace of the future and of something new, and they're acting out of hope rather than out of despair or sadness. So, to us, it's the effort that counts. I mean, I don't think there's a drama if everybody gets what they want. So I think, the story isn't all brightness and hope, but there is a significant dose of it, especially at the beginning.
So there does seem to be somewhat hope and renewal in Miracle. When I noticed something that really stuck out to me in one of the trailers was when the congregation at the church says, all in unison, "We are spared." Do the people of Jarden attach a special meaning to why they were spared and why others were not? In other words, does everything happen for a reason in this town and in the universe of The Leftovers?
Well, that's, I think that is the great question in Jarden is, why were we spared? And there's a lot of magical thinking that goes along with that. And there's a lot of superstition, and there's a lot of ritual that people perform in the hope that, if there's another problem, if there's another departure or some sort of misfortune, that, we must have been doing something right. We just don't know exactly what that was. So the part of the town's way of life is to repeat things that they've done in the past and turn events from October 14th into rituals. And you'll see that over the course of the season. Some people will challenge that. Some people will accept that. But to me, it's like we're only 4 years after the departure now. And if you look at any religion, sometimes it takes hundreds of years for a religion to develop a clear sense of, what its creed is. And so even a miracle has certain rituals. I don't think there's unanimous agreement that this or that thing was essential. I think a lot of people are offering theories and are trying to sort of stake their claim to having been a part of the magic.
So speaking about magic, we got to talk about Holy Wayne a little bit. So with the authorities questioning Kevin about his interaction with Holy Wayne at the end of the last season, I want to know, will Russia come into play at all this season?
Some other countries come into play this season, but there's not a whole lot about Russia.
That was such a huge tease. I remember when we heard that, it was like, what are we talking about with Russia? Where did this come out? And oh my God, all the speculation of why they put that in there and it's going to happen and were they going to be traveling to Europe? And it was insane. So thank you for.
Well, I think this is one of the pleasures of working with Damon is that, he's, I think he will plant seeds and some of them will sprout and others will lie dormant. But, who knows, if there's a season 4, it might all happen in Russia.
So with that in mind, then, can you share anything that's a teaser or Easter egg that has not been shared yet that we should be watching out for in season 2?
If I can be something of a self-promoter, I wrote a song along with Max Richter, our composer, that is part of the episode that's going to play on Sunday night. It's called The Miracle Anthem. So keep your eye out for that.
I did not know you were a musician. Look at you.
I wrote the lyrics.
Oh
Max
my God, a
music.
lyricist, even fancier. Yes, putting your pen to work in a different way.
Yep.
Well, now that, of course, you're going to be helping, of course, helped to write that song. I want to know, will you be writing any episodes for season 2? Or have you written since it's already been filmed?
Yeah, I co-wrote episode 2, episode 6, and the finale, episode 10.
So I guess everybody's main concern, and I know it's definitely a main concern of mine, is the world safe from another departure?
That's an easy one. Of course it's not. Nobody knows what caused the first one, and so, nobody knows if it could happen again. And I think, the departure is, to me, the unknowable. So the idea that you can be safe from the unknowable I think, doesn't make sense. The unknowable is always out there.
So, actually, really last question here. Are you excited? Are you ready for this to happen? Are you ready for everybody to see your baby and your project with Damon? Are you ready for it to get out in the ether and stop all the waiting?
Oh yeah. It's kind of it's always a strange thing. I've seen cuts of the first 5 episodes, and it seems unfair that you guys haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, you're telling us.
Well, thank you so much once again, Tom, for joining us here on our podcast. It's been an absolute joy to have you on, and now our minds are just reeling with your answers. We're going to just sit down and pick it all apart again. So thank you so much. This was really a joy.
Okay, well, thank you so much for all your interest in the show. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks again to Tom Perrotta for joining us on the Living Reminders. Blake, what did you think?
Well, first of all, I am just totally excited that we had Tom Perrotta on again to the show. The fact that he took the time out of his extremely busy schedule right before the premiere of his show means a lot, I know, to you, to myself, and I hope the listeners appreciate how much effort and time this guy has given to this podcast. I'm so excited for it. But I will tell you, what he said really, really, really excited me for season 2. There's a lot of fertile ground here, especially for the town the National Park of Miracle, the town of Jarden. But really specifically, and he kind of glossed over it a little bit, and I tried to get more information out of him, was the relationship between Patti and Kevin.
I know. It's like there's this little nugget right there of, what? Thought she was dead.
Right? And where the hell did she come from?
What is, she's coming a little bit. She's going to be on there. She's going to be on there no matter what. We know that, of course. Yeah,
because of the trailer. And I remember seeing it in both the trailers, and my mind being totally freaking blown. I know we had a chance to speak to Ann Dowd, and she was great. She had said nothing about her being in season 2.
She was like Patti.
Yeah, I know, right?
Get it? Say nothing. Told you.
Didn't.
I know.
She had said nothing about Patti being in season 2. And knowing that she is now in it, I am frothing at the mouth. I'm chomping at the bit, to find a lack of a better word, to see what kind of relationship they have and how does she interact with Kevin. I know in the second trailer she says, uh-oh, to him, right? Mm-hmm. What context is that? What happens? Does he respond back to her? Can she interact with him? What is this relationship going to be like?
It's going to be magic. Tell you what.
He did use the word magical quite often, as a matter of fact, in the in the interview. So I think there's, you said that as a throwaway comment, but I think that there's a lot more to that than what you're thinking.
Well, I mean, last season I was leaning on the fact that it was aliens.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be aliens.
Now I'm just going to talk about magic. That'll be my shtick for.
You're a wizard, Harry.
That there's right, Hagrid. All right, so what are you excited about for season 2?
Well, I think it's the Patti and Kevin relationship, number one. I'm also really interested in what he said about John Murphy, the character that's played by Kevin Carroll. He talked about this guy enforcing the unwritten rules or the unwritten laws of Miracle.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of like the muscle.
Just like the mob.
Right? That's what it feels like almost.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way that he's framing it. What does that mean? What are these unwritten laws? And he also talked about these traditions that Miracle is undergoing each year because of what happened on October 14th, the departure day. And they kind of repeat these things over and over again. What are those? And are we going to be exposed to them? And
we better be.
Oh, I would hope so. Right? But what does that mean for that town? And who gave this guy the power to say, I'm going to enforce these unwritten rules? I can't wait to see this. How are they going to tie in Tom and Lori? Does Tom and Lori come to Jarden, Texas, or do they stay back in Mapleton?
Oh my God. Well, especially if she's obsessed with the Guilty Remnant, I don't think they're going to be, I don't know, are they going to be a Miracle? No, because nobody left there.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. Why is she so obsessed with the Guilty Remnant? Because you could tell at the finale, spoiler alert, by the way, that she, after the whole thing burned down, you could tell that she was kind of remorseful that she put her daughter, Jill, in that position that she was in. I mean, her daughter almost died, burning down in that house. And then you see the look that she gives Kevin when it was all said and done. It was like, oh my God, what did I do? And seeing Tom show up in front of that harbor, in front of the water, and, take his little hat off and oh, Mom, hi, I'm here.
Hey, Mom.
It almost felt like a little bit of rebirth for Lori.
Yes.
It almost felt like, yes, I know, spoiler alert, I lost my baby in the departure. Yes, I know, spoiler alert, that I was in the Guilty Remnant. Yes, I know, spoiler alert, that I tried to get Jill into the Guilty Remnant. Yes, I know, spoiler alert, that I've let go of my son, Tom.
But it was kind of like that song in Annie. The sun will come out tomorrow. And exactly, he's taking off his hat and she just looks up with her curly messed up hair.
Yeah.
Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow.
Right? So what makes her go from that to all of a sudden becoming obsessed with the Guilty Remnant?
Lori doesn't have all those screws screwed too tightly. All right? She's messed up. And rightly so.
Not the sharpest tool in the toolbox.
No. Not right now. She's got a lot going on emotionally. I don't know where her head's at. She's dirty half the time.
And how interesting was
She is. She's freaking dirty. I've said it many times. She doesn't brush her hair. There was that one episode that she brushed her hair. I was like, wow.
Get out of here.
Brush your hair.
You don't have a rat's nest anymore.
She was in the Guilty Remnant. They don't care.
Speaking of the Guilty Remnant, we didn't ask him about Liv Tyler, and I feel like we should have done that. And now, and just going back and thinking about the interview, we totally should have asked him about Liv Tyler. What were we thinking?
Maybe we just have to get Liv Tyler on our show.
You want to know? Oh, that sounds like a good idea.
Hint, HBO. Hint.
If you're listening.
All right, so...
Well, because you can't ugly up Liv Tyler.
No.
Hashtag, I'm Liv Tyler. I don't do white.
I don't even... All right, so let's talk about our big announcements.
Yes, big announcements. All right, so big announcement number 1 is that by the time you listen to this, we are going to be having a giveaway of The Leftovers Season 1 Blu-ray.
Blu-ray. Not even...
Yeah, not even like a DVD. Just a straight up Blu-ray. How amazing is that?
None of this digital download stuff. I hate that.
I like having the real copy in my hand.
Me too.
Right?
Me too.
Having it, see it, smell it, touch it, put it in the disc, you know.
Because I'm a fool and I like digital download it and it'll be stuck on my iPhone. And then I'm like, what the heck?
But like,
watch
if
this
you,
on TV.
okay, you want to get really meta about this. If you download it, you have it on your phone, it's in the cloud. Do you ever really have it? Is it ever really yours, or are you just borrowing it? Like, what happens when the cloud goes away? Let's say you spend 30 grand on movies, and it's all in the cloud, and you're really happy about your movie collection. And all of a sudden, the cloud goes away, and boom, it's all gone, all departs. How do you like that? How do you like them apples? They all depart.
Okay, so we have a giveaway.
That's right. So
Blu-ray copy of season 1
of The Leftovers.
So
correct, and that will
super exciting.
end on October 6th. At I think 12 a.m.
So you can head on over to our blog.
Correct.
No, not to our blog, to our website actually, thelivingreminders.com.
Yep.
And you can also probably get it on our Facebook page. We're going to have there's going to be a giveaway tab, and you'll be able to get it there as well.
Correct.
So multiple ways that you can get on and enter.
Big announcement number 2 is that we have created the Living Reminders blog.
What does that even mean?
The Living Reminders blog is a blog dedicated to The Leftovers, written by the fans and for the fans.
So a blog about the show.
Correct.
Tell me more.
What we tried to do is we tried to get you, the listeners, more involved in our podcast. And as you know, we do all the voicemails, we do the emails, the tweets, everything. And it just wasn't enough for us. And it wasn't enough for us because there is so much to talk about in this universe of The Leftovers. And we want you guys to have more of a voice. So what we have done is we have selected a select amount of listeners that have applied. And you can actually still apply to be a part of the blog, as a matter of fact. But we've selected a select amount of listeners to write articles and on anything they want that's relating to The Leftovers, whether it's philosophy or themes or characters or
costumes, or talking about why did they brush their hair all of a sudden? Anything.
Or how you can't ugly up Liv Tyler.
Or what the heck's up with the dog?
Right, the dog is back, by the way.
Oh, I know.
I saw that. He's all domesticated and stuff.
Okay, so seriously, if you have just ideas where you're like, I could run with this, I could write an essay on X topic, we want you on board.
Yeah, we want you to be a part of our staff. We want you to create content for... the way I look at it is The Leftovers is a great show, right? And I love talking about it. I talk about it with you, my wife, sitting across the way from me here every week. I talk about it to you guys, the listeners, into the black hole of iTunes and into the podcast world. So I kind of get my fill. But there are those of you out there who watch The Leftovers and don't have anybody to talk to about it because somebody doesn't watch it or they're not into it as much as you are. So you come to us to listen to it, but you don't have somewhere to get your own ideas out completely.
So this is it. This is the way.
This is the way to get other like-minded people to read what you want to say. And the great thing is, you already have a built-in audience. Thousands of people listen to this podcast. You will be able to reach their ears and reach their eyes immediately.
Especially for those of you who honestly have theories about what happened in the departure, like those are the blog posts I want to read. I want to know, those of you who are like, it was aliens, or those of you who are like, it was the rapture, or those of you who are like, it was Harry freaking Potter.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Okay? I want you to write those blog posts.
I'm so glad we're back. I'm so freaking glad that we're back.
Me too.
It's just to play the "You're a Wizard, Harry" sound.
Oh, it's so good, and Halloween's coming soon, and I just want to fill my house with cauldrons. So that's the big announcements.
So yeah, we have the giveaway and the creation of the Living Reminders blog. So please go to thelivingreminders.com and you will see the announcement for both there. You'll be able to enter in certain ways to win the Blu-ray and then also apply for the Living Reminders blog writer's staff job. My love, it's sad to say, but it's over. It is over. It is over. This first episode is over of season 2. I'm happy that it's here. Don't cry because it's over. Be happy because it happened.
The sun will come out tomorrow.
That's right. Are you ready to close out the show, my darling?
Bet your bottom dollar. Boom.
Just drop the mic.
I've missed that music. And if you've missed talking about The Leftovers or listening to The Leftovers, we want to talk to you, okay? You can reach out to us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. Our handles are all the same. It is Living Reminders. So tweet us, Facebook us, send us some love on Instagram. But we just want to start chatting with you guys again. We've missed you a lot.
And if the social media doesn't do it for you, you can always reach us on an email machine at livingreminders@gmail.com.
Our official website is thelivingreminders.com, and that's where you're going to find the giveaway and information about the blog and all of our previous episodes, including super duper cast interviews.
And there's also a button there that says support on the livingreminders.com. And if you click that, there are a bunch of different ways you can support us, this podcast, The Living Reminders, whether it be in Patreon or PayPal or iTunes reviews or anything you could think of, it's there. But here's a more important thing. The most important way you can help a free podcast is to just tell your friend. Tell someone who likes The Leftovers, or tell someone, oh my God, I love this show, The Leftovers, and there's this podcast that I absolutely adore about it. It will help you, it will help get the meaning across of the show. If what we do here gives value to you as the listener, let one of your friends know what we do and that we exist.
One way that you can let people know that we exist is head on over to iTunes and rate and write a little review for us, okay? This is how people find us a lot of the times is just through iTunes. And the more reviews we get, the more likely we're going to get some more people listening. So I'm going to read you a recent review. It's from someone named Just Me. And they said, I'm not a big TV watcher simply because there aren't many shows that can hold my interest. The Leftovers had me hooked from the very first episode. I love shows that make you think for yourselves and contemplate possibilities instead of spelling everything out in black and white. I will be a loyal watcher for as long as it runs. Thanks for these podcasts that keep us in touch with the show, characters, and plot lines. Well, thank you so much, Just Me, and everyone else who has taken the time to review us on iTunes. We really appreciate it, and if you haven't yet, please write us a review.
Well, love, that's it.
Yep. For now, I'm Mary.
My name's Blake.
And we're still here.